Hey guys, JJ here. It's Saturday. We're back for another Saturday of Zoom networking, and our guest speaker today is an amazing young man. He's actually one of the smartest guys I know. I don't say that very often, but this guy is like a genius, especially when it comes to real estate and money. Um, just amazing young man. He's a father, family man, investor. Started like the rest of us as a student. Now is a very successful entrepreneur and one of the nicest guys I know. I'd like to introduce my friend, Brian Fine. Brian, how are you?
Doing fantastic, JJ.
Hey, it's always good to see you. Hey, first question right off the bat, as always, where in the country are you located for people that don't know you?
I am in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Hey, I got to come out there for a baseball game. I want to see the Dodgers play the Pirates.
Yep. And hopefully sometime in either of our lifetimes, the Pirates will decide to start winning again.
That'd be nice. They won a lot when I was a kid, but that was a lifetime ago. At least a lot of, for most of us. So, hey, topic today, money is your friend, picking the right money for the right deal. Um, what does that mean? The right money for the right deal. Maybe we'll start out there.
So there's lots of different sources of capital. You have, and the term I usually use for it is buckets of money. You have your own cash that has its own rules. You could borrow, get cash off a credit card. Well, that has rules. It has interest rates and what you're allowed to spend it on and points and all that, and repayment terms. We have retirement accounts. We have private relationship lenders, we have private institutional lenders, we have banks. All of these different sources of money have different rules. And so, if we want to optimize our real estate investing to get the highest returns for any given deal we're in, we want to use the right types of money, the right combinations of money to get those deals done. So, that's what we mean by uh, using the right money for the right deal. It's not as simple as, okay, you have cash, you buy it, or everything in the world gets seller financing, or we're going to use a bank for it all. That all of those answers would only work a narrow part of the time.
So, with that, how do we know what money we want to use? I mean, obviously, certain types of money have more interest. We
Mm-hmm.
talked about private money lenders versus a hard money institution, and hard money institutions often have some points, and then there's that monthly interest rate that comes with that, where private money is usually like our family, our friends, someone that we know well, that's just going to say, hey, well, when you're done with it, just pay me so much on the end. How do people distinguish between the two? Is private money easy to get? Is that hard to get? Is it, I mean,
So I'll answer that, but let's start a little closer to home. Let's start with the closest money you have, which would be your own cash. Which is a pretty finite thing, right? I don't care how much you have. That could, for some people on this call, that'll be nothing, and for some, it could be a fairly decent amount. But in real estate terms, it's a very, very limited resource. The upside of your money is that you are the only one in charge of the underwriting. So you can spend it on whatever you want, and nobody's going to tell you you can't. The downside is it is by far the most expensive money you'll ever have. So an argument that a lot of people make with cash is, oh, well, I don't have to pay an interest rate on it. I can just use my own cash. The thing is, you already did. You paid a huge amount of money to get that into your bank account in the form of taxation. So you paid your income tax. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you're in a 20% tax bracket. So real simple. Some of you will be higher, some of you will be lower, but about 20%. Uh, that means that to have $100,000 in your bank account, you paid 20,000 in taxes. All right, so that's a 20-point origination fee, far more expensive than any lender out there, far more expensive than any credit card. You also have an ongoing interest rate in the form of inflation. So you could take whatever the government tells you inflation is today, somewhere in the 2 to 3%, I think, is the most recent number. Or you could take another number from maybe other sources based on different metrics, and you could end up in the 10 to 12% range. So the cost of your money is very, very high. The advantage of using it is nobody's going to stop you. So that's the first bucket of money you want to take a look at. It's very, very useful, usually as a down payment. We don't particularly want to buy things in raw cash. One of the most attractive things about real estate as an investment, and I don't care if we're talking single families, multifamilies, land, commercial buildings, it's all the same thing. Real estate is very easy to encumber with debt. It's one of the biggest advantages we get. It's what kind of sets us apart from stock market stuff. So it's sort of silly. You're giving up one of the biggest advantages by doing things in straight cash. But that's where we start. So the first bucket is cash. Second bucket that you would want to talk about would be your what we call relationship private capital. This is your friends and family, like JJ mentioned. This is your family members. This is your coworkers. This is your neighbors. These are people that you know well outside of this business the majority of the time, who have capital. Often that money is in a self-directed retirement account. That's where the average American has liquidity that they can deploy in this way. And that capital can be lent to you based on your relationship. Essentially, if they like you, they will do it. It has a lot less to do with what the deal looks like. Kind of like your own cash, they aren't lending to you based on that deal. They're lending to you based on your relationship. So if you think it's a good idea to spend the money on this and they like you enough, then they will probably authorize that and give you the necessary cash. The problem with that comes up when you underwrote a bad deal. When you think it's a good idea, they like you enough to think it's a good idea. They lend to the retirement on the deal and the deal goes south. At that point, we start seeing bad things. Right? I'm sure a lot of you on this call, unfortunately, probably know somebody, a private lender who's lost a lot of money. That's how that happens. The third major bucket that we see is what we call private institutional capital. That's what we are at Always Capital. A lot of times you'll hear this called hard money, but it's professional private lending. It's not a banking institution. Our pockets are a lot deeper. Our money tends to be cheaper, but our terms for that money are a lot less negotiable. We won't fund 100%. You're not going to see it. And you're going to make monthly payments. You're not going to get out of that either. So those things make it a little less attractive than the relationship side, except that we have much deeper pockets and our money's cheaper. So one of the most ideal uses of institutional capital is for the first position. Then you use your own cash or relationship cash to bridge that gap between. That's going to let you go a lot further. The average private lender in the US has $100,000. For a lot of you, especially you guys in California, that's not enough to do anything. It just isn't. But if you had an institutional lender like us come in and give you 80% of what you need, and you need a 20% down payment plus holding cost, $100,000 would go a lot further and let you do much bigger deals. So JJ mentioned we're going to be doing our Dealmaker Bootcamp Friday, June 20th. We're going to, from 9 to 5, we are going to take you guys through highly, highly detailed underwriting. We're going to teach you how to decide whether or not something is a deal worth lending on. And whether you are a lender, in which case this is priceless information, or you're an investor borrower, then you want to know. The scariest thing about asking to borrow money is being told no, right? So you'll know ahead of time whether or not the deal works. So we'll take you through underwriting from the point of view of a lender. Then in the afternoon, we're going to go out and actually do some deals. We'll give you guys an offer making system, and you can make offers right in the room. Some of you will walk out of there with deals. So it's going to be a very, very powerful training. We've ran this multiple times, and I think over the couple of years, I've gotten people a few hundred deals out of it. So it's a very, very effective system to run things on. All right, so that's our institutional private money or hard money bucket. Then we have our bank bucket. Bank money is the cheapest, and it's the hardest to get. The only downside of it is it's a real pain in the ass. You have to give them, they have the most detailed underwriting, and they will tell you no, and they don't care. The people who are deciding whether or not to write you a loan are not financially incentivized to get you the loan. They don't, it's not their money. They really have no dog in that fight at all. They just have their systems and they follow it. So bank money is the cheapest money, but it is the most complicated capital to get a hold of. It leaves you with that same gap that needs filled, unless we're doing a refinance. So That's your major buckets. Another one that you see a lot is the self-directed retirement bucket. And the big thing with that one is that it's best used for lending. You have to worry about if it's your own money, if it's your own retirement account, it's a lot more complex to use it for your own investments. You can use it to buy rental property. I would suggest you don't. There's a case you can look up. The IRS usually has one major case a year that goes through all the tax publications, and you'll hear this in any asset protection strategy training. The one from 2023 was the IRS, or the federal government, versus McNulty. But as a quick summary for you, the woman's name was McNulty. She decided she wanted to buy gold with her retirement account. She had a separate building built next to her house with a vault in it, and they put gold in it. The IRS called that illegal. They said that was a prohibited transaction. They had a whole big court case about it that came due in 2023, and she lost. She lost her whole retirement, and it all went south. The argument that the IRS won on was that she has material access to the investment, material access and control. That argument has never been used against somebody holding real estate in their IRA, but if they did, the IRS would win. So just based on that alone, I would generally say it's not a phenomenal idea to do rental property straight out of your IRA or any retirement account. Your self-directed retirements are best used for private equity investment. So you can do that with another investor, essentially lend it and take simple interest. I'd have to talk about it in a far more detailed training at another time. There's some things you can do that aren't simple interest, but for 95% of you, the answer is going to be you lend that money out for a fixed rate return. And that is how you grow that retirement account. There's a couple other buckets of money, usually some form of line of credit or arbitrage. So that's money that we borrow from anybody or anyone else at a cost. So the most common example of that we see is a home equity line of credit. So I already got my mortgage on my house, but I got a bunch of equity in there. Bank, I go through their process, and they give me, $100,000, $200,000 in a line of credit. If I don't pay anything unless I draw on that line of credit, but as soon as I do, I have monthly payments and that are amortized and interest. So I have this monthly payment that has to be made. I need to make sure when I lend my money out from that HELOC that there is a gap there. I am making more than I have to spend. So you got to just check the rules and make sure that if my HELOC's at 8%, I'm lending out at 12 to 14. Because in addition to the interest, unless I have an interest-only HELOC, I'm going to have to pay down the principal too. So I want to make sure that I'm collecting more every month than the payments that are due. And that can be from any source. In theory, though I don't see it very often, you could lend out of a credit card. Just usually that doesn't work. So just keep an eye on it. But that would be another bucket. We call that the arbitrage bucket. So that is your major buckets of money. So again, I'll just kind of quickly review them. You got cash. You have private lending, private relationship lending. You have your institutional lenders. You have your banks. You have your retirement accounts. And you have your arbitrage, which would be credit cards and HELOCs and that sort of thing. I'll throw in one more while I'm thinking about it, and that's seller carry or seller financing. That is a form of arbitrage. I know a lot of you guys your education heavily focuses on utilizing the seller financing. So I guess we can talk about that for a minute. From my point of view, both as an investor and as a lender, the number one reason that a deal fails is because of the seller. So the first strike against seller financing is it keeps them in the deal. I usually want them gone as fast as humanly possible. They often have emotions or preconceptions attached to the deal that have nothing to do with reality. And if we keep them in the deal, they might lose it and cause us trouble down the line. So eliminating them is in our best interest. As for how to use seller carry, the most common place I see it is in larger multifamily. So things in the, let's say, 2 million to and up range. And the reason that they do it, in fact, they'll often offer it, is it has to do with reducing or eliminating capital gains. That's its primary purpose for a seller. That's what makes it a really good idea for them. I know a lot of the training you guys go through talks about basically offering them more and all that, and that can all be true. But from the point of view of investment property and people who know what they're doing and they're not motivated because they're in a terrible financial situation, they do it as a tax benefit. The ideal way to do that, if they have a cheap mortgage that is not ballooning anytime soon, taking over the first can make sense. But more often today, what we see is that it does not make sense. They want access to the equity they have in it as part of the price. So it ends up being a better idea to get them to carry that as a second position or as equity in the deal. And so you want to refinance them out and put a first position lender. That is the more common way we see that done. Okay. All right. So that's the major buckets of money.
Lily, you're on. Brian, fine. What's your question?
Thank you. I'm a newbie, but I'm very hands-on with my education. And so I'm very interested in underwriting because I think that's really the core of the deal. Learning I know it has a lot of moving parts, the assessment, and of course of the property and, any past owners, anything concerning the title. So if the title is free and clear. So I'm familiar with, some important components of the underwriting, but I'm a newbie. Is there a book that you can recommend so I can really get my hands on my studies? Anything you can advise, I'll be very grateful.
Yeah. Are you coming to our training in June?
Yes.
Awesome. Then I'll give you a book then. We're writing it though, so I'm gonna finish it first. Yes. I don't have it yet.
Yes.
But here I'll share this for everybody though. Underwriting is incredibly important.
It is.
But let me ask a bigger picture question. Who's responsible for the underwriting in a deal?
I would say that the buyer, or they would have both, the seller and the buyer.
So everybody does some kind of underwriting to decide whether or not it's a deal, right? Yes. When I say who's responsible, who takes the hit if it's wrong? Who's liable?
The buyer would say.
Whoever lent on it. Right? Whoever wrote the biggest check is responsible.
No.
Okay. So if you intend to be the first position lender, then yes, you will need to master underwriting completely. You'll need to know it all. If that's not the best use of your capital, I've talked about this on other of JJ's calls, and we will definitely be talking about this more soon. Being a equity partner or a gap lender, then the first position had to underwrite the deal. And so if you have a giant institution that lends out hundreds of millions or billions of dollars a year doing it, you can have some faith that they wouldn't have wrote the check if they didn't think it was a good deal, right?
Right.
So that's kind of a way you can outsource it, a very effective way. Because I can tell you, it's not just, we can show you all the magic spreadsheets and math and how all of that goes through, but the rules change all the time.
No, yes.
Usually about once a year, you see a major change. There were 2 major changes in January. You would never know this unless you're actually involved in the industry. Nobody will tell you. Really simple one is that the amount of money we need to see for a down payment right now has to come from a guarantor. If they aren't guaranteeing the loan, they don't count. And that's because of about $2 billion in fraud last year.
Oh, wow.
So you wouldn't know any of this unless it's an everyday thing. So we can definitely cover like high level. How do we determine deal or no deal? And look at all the various kinds of that. But ultimately, when you're structuring it as you want to get a return on your own capital, then you're best off outsourcing that to a first position, getting a copy of all their underwriting, and making sure what is left covers what you want out of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So
Yes.
we'll dive into that some more. And actually, JJ and I were talking yesterday.
Mhm.
We were talking about creating another community off of his existing group, specifically for folks who want to do the private lending and private equity. And because what we can share with you guys is basically how do you decide whether or not you should be investing in these deals? Because there is nothing we want to see less than you put your money out there and you did not get it back. That is, we are a very, very small community. And when that happens, it hurts every single one of us.
Oh,
That
yes.
stops all of us from doing deals. So we don't want to see that. So we're talking about creating a little group. I'm sure JJ will have more on that.
Yep.
But we're going to make a little group for you guys who want that. We're not going to charge you anything. I'm not interested in your money. We just want to lend and make sure everybody makes money and does deals.
Thank you.
Mr. JD Jonathan Dunmeyer himself. Jonathan, you're on. Brian, fine. What's your question?
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
Great, John. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Kind of similar to Lily's question, since I'm a new Gator. Been in the community about 2 months and just finished my underwriting course, and that has been, to me, truly, I guess, monumental, I would say, to understand how to structure deals, how to properly get things done. What would you say with me moving forward as far as being in contact with lenders and looking to become a private lender myself? The best way for me to be able to, I guess, make sure the lenders that I'm going to, that I'm presenting these deals, that I come across the correct way.
So you're brokering to a capital partner?
Right, either that or just doing like a connector, because a lot of people who are borrowers, I'll find them or they'll find me and say, hey, I need a lender. Do you know anybody? And I'll say, hey, let me reach out to this person to see if I can connect you to. But I want to make sure that in the process that I'm looking at a deal, underwriting it properly before I present
Yep.
it.
So if it's true private capital, so there's two kinds of kind of brokering you can be doing here. One is you have friends and family who have capital and want to see returns on their money. Okay, that kind of brokering, you need to be responsible for the underwriting, because it's no different than if you ask your Uncle Bob if he wants to invest in a deal, he loves you and likes you and knows you know what you're talking about, so he just says yes.
Right.
And he sends his retirement over, right, to make it happen. If that was a not so good deal, who's he going to blame at Thanksgiving for that? Right. So that becomes problematic. So in that case, you need to get very, very good at the underwriting. In addition, one of the things that JJ and I have been talking about quite a bit, that is relationship lending. You can get all the knowledge and education in the world on how to underwrite things, but at the end of the day, if the relationship you have with that the term we use for them is operator, not borrower, because they're the one operating the deal, taking it from A to Z. That operator is who I'm ultimately lending the money to. And so I don't care what the deal says. If I have a phenomenal operator who has a great track record, has done things very well, then I could actually lend on a fairly terrible deal and it'll work out fine. If I have somebody with a poor track record who doesn't operate with ethics and integrity, who's having personal issues in their life, that kind of thing, and they have a phenomenal deal, I lend on it and I'm probably going to take some substantial loss. So the quality of that relationship is everything. So if you're going to broker or refer private capital, I would only even remotely consider that for people that you already have a phenomenal relationship with yourself, that you would lend your own money to. Maybe you already have, right? The way I most commonly see this done is you found an operator who you like, you have a deal going with them, you made some money, you do it again, and then they say, hey, you got any more cash? I got another deal going on, and you don't, you're tapped out. At that point, you call a friend because, hey, I'm already investing with this guy, you do it. That kind of referral tends to work.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
The other kind you can broker to is institutions like us, and there's plenty more out there. In which case, the term we use is you throw it over the fence. You just send me somebody's info and we handle it. I don't care if it's a good deal or not. I'll figure that out. You don't have to worry about it. I'm not taking your word for it. If you sent me like 30 of them in a day that are all trash, eventually I'm going to have a conversation with you. But in general, as long as it looks all right, we'll handle the underwriting. That's our problem. So that is a very different level of responsibility.
Okay.
So the question is, if it's private, then would you lend them your own cash? If it's not private, sure, then send it over. And usually there's a fee involved if they close. We send you money.
Okay. So they have to white label your company, or just a matter of reaching out?
There's a couple of ways that works. The program we have set up is extremely simple. You just broker to us. They know it's us. But we pay you into perpetuity for anything they do as long as they borrow off of us every 2 years.
You're on with Brian Fine.
Hey, guys.
What's going on, Brian? Pleasure. Like your other last call was awesome. Again, this call is awesome. Thank you, JJ, for putting this together. You talked about the HELOC thing, and I mean, there's trillions of dollars in property that's sitting around doing absolutely nothing that could be getting to work, right? So how do we help educate these people on the opportunity that's available for them?
So HELOCs can be a challenge depending on what kind you get. And generally, the type of investment you would do with it is only short term. I'm normally going to want to see that on rehabs. If the intention is to do any kind of investment, either lending or buying of rental assets, you're better off with the cash out refi. And in general, the cash out refi is superior. The reason people will resist it, if I got a mortgage, a first position in 2019, and I'm sitting on a 2% 30-year, yeah, I'm going to want to keep that. But for the rest of the world, you're better off refinancing. If I'm sitting on a 5-6%, then doing a refi, pulling out 20-30% equity and suddenly being at a 7% mortgage, it's okay. I mean, do the math. You should be winning really hard. So that tends to be a better use and more affordable. HELOCs have a couple of issues that you run into. Be really careful with the terms. The best ones that I see are interest only for 10 years. That's the best ones. It doesn't matter what the interest rate is. Interest only is what you're after. I've seen ones at lower interest rates, 6-7%, because usually we're getting these from banks. But then they're on a 5-year amortization schedule. The monthly payments are brutal. You can't afford them. That might as well be a 12-13% interest rate. Yes, you're paying yourself back, so it's not technically a loss, but month over month, it's cash flow negative. So that can be really hard to do. Interest only is the best way to play on those. If the economy takes a turn for the worse, which does not appear to be the case now or even in the immediate future, but we've seen it before, right? We have another round of COVID or something. We saw a lot of banks kill unused HELOCs. So just because you got a HELOC authorized, you went through all the credit, the underwriting, got it pulled, you're supposed to have $300,000 sitting there. You don't use it. You're just saving it till an opportunity comes up. Something changes with the bank, and all of a sudden they're like, no, never mind. It's not there. You can't have it. And if you read the small print in those HELOCs, they could do that every time. So it's not the same thing as doing a cash out refinance, at which point that's fixed rate interest. The money is in your bank account and they can't touch you. You spend it on anything you want. That cash is free and clear. So for long terms, refis are definitely better. Short term, HELOC, but be careful.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, is just having the availability of capital for short term, like 6-month loans or 8-month projects, just stuff like that. So in and out, a little bit of, you get that equity, you put it to work, it goes to work at its W-2 while you're doing what you want to do. And you're making a nice little return, and you start becoming bill freedom, right? I mean, that's what it's all about, is just settling up your bills.
I have a couple of friends who rehab with them, and what they'll do is they do a first position with me. I fund most of it. They pull out enough of their HELOC to do their down payments and their initial draws, and they'll make their monthly payments as well. They just handle all that, and then at the end they pay the whole damn thing back, and they're very happy with how that works.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, is actually for the first kickoff draw, or just the security blanket that the lenders like yourself need to just see the liquidity, just to ensure that things are going to get through the term of the project. But
as a rehabber, you want about 30%. Purchase plus rehab, you want about a third of that. You probably need 20 to 25% of it in down payment. Actually, no, it's lower than that because it's purchase plus rehab. But the remaining chunk of that. That's your monthly payments. That's your initial construction before the draw. That's the, oh no, there's termites behind the walls. But all that stuff is covered in just this chunk of money you had there. So 30% will cover, I would say, almost every rehab you get into.
Cool. Yeah, I just submitted one deal I'm working on. You're asking a lot of documents, stuff like that, but the portal looks great. And great job for helping JJ and everybody get all this thing finally ironed out. And man, we can't wait to do business with you guys. It's amazing.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate that. Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, we'll take a look. It's a holiday weekend, of course, but I will go look. Yeah. See what you got.
Mr. Todd Duran out of Florida. Todd, you're on with Brian Fine. What's your question?
Hey, Brian. So, hey, I've been investing full time for like 15 years and mostly single families and smaller multifamilies. And so I kind of pulled back last year, and now I'm looking at maybe refinancing or selling some of my other properties and then scaling up to either larger deals and getting more involved in lending and raising money and maybe looking at acquiring some businesses, just kind of shifting gears a little bit. What would be your recommendation for, like I'm starting to have conversations with friends and business associates, and they're like, hey, I got capital to invest, so they're starting to, kind of come to the table. What would be your recommendation for me getting up to speed and getting structured with, I don't want to do a fund, but how to kind of leverage those relationships in either real estate or in business acquisition.
Yep. Okay. So to avoid doing a fund, less than 5 involved in an LLC. Does that make sense?
No.
So if let's say you're going to buy a project, don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Project gets a subject LLC.
Yeah.
You can have equity partners till there are a total of about 5 of you in there.
Okay.
So you plus 4.
Okay.
That works all day long. You can get away with it. They're all going to be minority compared to you. You're going to maintain management and you structure that accordingly. Another way you can do it is they can lend to you. And those can be unsecured business loans to your LLC.
Okay.
That is a completely legal way to pool money with fixed rate debt. You can do it.
So either structured as debt or equity, as long as there's 5 people or less in five members.
Yeah, don't push it too far. If you need more than that, then you need to do a syndication.
No. I think it's mostly going to be like if somebody has expertise they bring to the table, I would consider equity. If it's just money, then I would debt or debt.
You want it the other way around. You want equity in almost every situation.
Okay.
You can treat the equity as debt, but the security should not be a debt vehicle. You want a first position mortgage with no subordinate.
Okay.
Right? Because that's where everybody gets in trouble. You can pay their equity portion out according to the terms of any loan in the world. Treat it like debt. That's cool.
Okay.
That's fine. You can do that all day long. But the moment you want to record a second, a third, a fourth, all this other stuff, that is not a structure that we want to see anybody using anymore. It's frowned upon at best.
So you structure it as equity, and then you just deplete the equity down as you pay them back.
No, the amount of equity is irrelevant. It can be 1%.
Okay.
That's fine. But you say for this 1%, there's a capital contribution of X, and it will be paid back according to the following terms. In the event of a default, I pledge the other 99% against it.
Got it. That's how you secure it. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
so then they get all the security. That doesn't freak out lenders like me. Like, oh, cool, you got a business partner. I don't care. Yeah. That's fine. And then you're able to use the best first you can get on any given project.
Okay. And
that's how you do it.
Okay. And the lending you do, is it mostly residential? Is it multifamily? Is it businesses, or what kind of lending do you focus on?
We'll do rehab, DSCR loans on rentals, single and multifamily is fine, and we'll do ground up construction. Not a problem.
Construction, okay.
Land, business acquisition, things like that. Those are I'd have to refer you.
Okay. For ground up construction, I'm looking at some land in Georgia, to do a family cabin, but also something we can Airbnb out. That's the primarily one. How does the ground up construction financing work? Is it construction to permanent, or is it just construction and then you refi it after it's done?
You refi it when you're finished. Yeah, that's how you do it. And you're generally looking at, it's almost completely based on experience for the type of thing you're building. So if you've built 3 cabins in the last 3 years, we can credit that. Otherwise, it'll be 0. And then that's okay. We can still fund it, but you're probably looking at about 65% of LTV.
Okay.
On that, that's about what those come in at, and that's you'll see that pretty much across the board. That's about where everybody plays.
Yeah. So if I've done a couple hundred fix and flips, that doesn't carry over because it's not ground up construction. We've done one construction, but not a cabin.
Correct. So earlier I mentioned that the underwriting rules kind of change across the industry on an annual basis.
Yeah.
You just flagged the second thing they changed. They got really picky on what counts as experience.
Got it. Okay.
So now, even being a rehabber, I've done a bunch of rehab projects too. They have to be in the same area as the one you're doing.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I've done a whole bunch in Pittsburgh, but if I wanted to do one down in Florida, guess what? My experience doesn't translate.
Interesting. Okay. Makes sense.
Because they've seen a lot of straw borrowers, people who basically used their experience to get better terms, but then had no capacity to follow through. And that led to quite a bit of loss.
Yeah.
So they don't allow it anymore.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thanks. Appreciate your time, Brian.
Sure.
And thank you, JJ, for setting it up.
Thank you, Todd. Thanks for being here today. Great question. Mr. Eric Cooey. Eric, you're on Brian Fine. What's your question?
Hey, how's it going? Thank you guys for your time. So more on like that, I'm shifting my investing from single family rentals, trying to get into the multifamily, bigger numbers and bringing on investors, and I'm trying to figure out like the capital raising side. I'm in the just currently working with somebody to build out the CRM. And my issue is like I'm on the fence of what's the better way to do a first capital raise, whether it be like 506B and have the friends and family, which seems easier because they're people that are already in my network, right? But the person I'm working with on the CRM is leaning more towards like the 506B because you can market it. And I can like
the C can be marketed, not the B.
Did I get him? Sorry, that's what I meant. The C. So yeah, I mean, she's saying, like she's setting up everything for me to market to accredited investors because then I can blast the word out there. But I with no experience, I don't know which one is the better path.
Yeah. So this is it's the chicken and egg question, right?
Yeah.
So our first fund was a 506B because we had existing relationships with our network, right? So JJ's network, we know all of you guys. He has a very good relationship with you. If we ran a 506B, we could market that opportunity to you, and that could work. The challenge with a C, yes, you can just go buy ads on Facebook and go to town. The problem is that so can everybody else. And so now you are competing with Grant Cardone.
Right.
Okay? And his track record might be a bit longer than yours, and the returns he's offering might be a bit higher. We have a 506C for our fund in Always Capital. That's after 6 years and several $1 million in successful deployments. So when we go out and talk to investors, accredited folks tend to be a bit more experienced. We have to lead with our track record. They decide whether or not to invest with us almost completely based on that. So for somebody new, I'm going to maybe lean a little more towards you're thinking B.
Yeah.
Or you need to bring on a key partner who will basically share their credibility with you.
Right.
And they have to be a real principal. It's hard to fake. They actually have to be part of the project. So if you do that, then yes, you can do the C.
All right.
I would definitely. We did the B the first time. It's pretty nice. Afterwards, it can become like for our fund, we're going to raise too much money over time, and we need to be able to advertise the opportunity over time. It kind of needed to be a C, but for an acquisition of a project, it's going to be a one-time deal. You're going to turn it on and turn it off when it's done. So B can make a lot of sense for those.
Right. Yeah. So cause I'm in that trying to get this big rock rolling.
Hmm.
And it's like all these things, right? It's like, all right, I'm looking for a project, but then when I start to get a project, like now I got to find the money, and I'm like stuck there, right? So, but I mean that's why I'm doing all this, building out the network and trying to get around the people that are doing it so I can learn and start moving that rock.
Hmm.
Because I know once it
Exactly.
starts rolling, it rolls easier. It's just getting that first push is the hard part.
It does. And if you don't have the network to, raise 30, 40, $50 million, then don't try to start those projects. You can get there. It's cool. But starting with something little, uh, a quadplex somewhere for a few $100,000 that you can get a first position on, so you need 100 grand, right? Okay, well, I can find three buddies to give me 30, 40 grand a pop a lot easier than I can go find $30 million and about $100,000 a person from people who don't know me. So
Yeah.
just
Well,
you don't
I'm
don't
trying
necessarily
to.
try to climb Everest for your first mountain, right? There's some
Right.
shorter
Yeah.
ones out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean my current, like, I'm looking in the Philly area, and I'm like trying to do like the 10 to 20 unit range. So
Hmm.
probably 1.5 million to 3 million, somewhere in there.
Yep.
So
Hmm.
I feel like it's enough to be uncomfortable, but it's not crazy
It
outlandish.
it also gets a lot easier if you have your own capital.
Yeah, I have some.
Some is great. This is the point. You don't need enough. You need some. There's a big difference between, okay, so you're going to do something for 1.5 million. You need about 500 grand to do it. So there's a big difference between I need $500,000, I got 100 of my own, and I need $500,000 and I got 10. How much are you putting in the game? That becomes a lot easier for everybody else to stomach.
Right. Yeah, I
See
mean,
what I mean? It's level
yeah.
of investment and how it sounds, right? And then it's even tougher if it's I got no money in the game. I've never done this before, and I'd like you to pay for it. You can dress that up any way you want, but that's fundamentally the ask, and that gets a little tougher.
Yeah, I definitely definitely agree with you there.
So yeah, having a little bit helps. 506B is a good structure. Before you even do the structure, though, you can reach out to the people and have a conversation with them. The structure would be how you put it together when you got the deal. But if you already got a local network, then get some people who are interested ahead of time. Like JJ said, it's the relationship, not the deal.
Build your.
If you have the relationship, you're good to go.
I always say build your network before you need it. People are
Yeah.
getting into real estate. They're learning. They're studying. They're taking the fire hose of information, but they're not being visible. They're not building their network. They have an opportunity. The next thing they need to do is say, "Hey, now I need help. Now I need someone." But when you start reaching out because you need help, it's apparent that you're reaching out because you need help, not because you're looking to build relationships with people that you resonate with and that resonate with you.
Right.
When you're reaching out because you need help, now you're going to be susceptible, if not the victim, of people that are going to take advantage of you because they have an opportunity and you're trying to capitalize on an opportunity without having built your network first. It makes no
Yeah.
sense.
If you think
Yeah.
about it from the point of view as if you're the lender, right? You have some capital. Doesn't matter how much. You got some money, and you express that you're willing to deploy it on a deal. You get a call from somebody you've never met before. Maybe it's a friend of a friend or something, and they say, "Hey, can I have the entire amount you have available for this deal? We're going to make a ton of money, and I need you to close tomorrow." I get that call probably 4 times a week, and I'm like, "Wait, what was your name again?" Like, I don't have any clue who you are. I don't know anything about your deal. I don't know about your business. I don't know how you operate, and you're asking me for my life savings. Maybe take me to dinner first, right? It's like make it make sense.
Yeah.
So if you build
I,
those relationships ahead of time, you can do your 506B, or even just structure it. You might have enough equity partners to just put a couple of people in an LLC and do it and save yourself 15 grand in lawyer fees. But you want to know the people ahead of time. Hey, if I find a 20 unit in Philly at the right cap rate, who's interested? Let's talk about it. How would we structure that? If I found it, what would you do? And now you got your little Rolodex of people, you know exactly what it is, and you can go shop because you know what you can handle and take down. That's the best way to go about that.
Makes sense. Yeah. Sounds good.
All right, Eric, thank you so much for jumping on, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Love what's going on and appreciate all the knowledge.
Wow, brother, we've had some pretty great questions there. I can't thank you enough, Brian, for everything you do, all the knowledge that you share, your wisdom. Um, you know, I always talk about, we hear it all the time, our network guys is our net worth. We need to surround ourselves with people that will, bring us value. Those that we surround ourselves with will dictate the success of our business. Um, Brian is someone you guys want to get to know. As I say before, build your network before you need it, build your relationships. There are many, many rock stars out there on the landscape, and you know many of their names, and Brian is one of those names. Reach out to these people, connect with them, uh, build rapport before you need anything. See if you resonate with one another. Uh, I can't stress that enough. As far as opportunities, I say this all the time. Networking leads to visibility. Visibility leads to opportunity. So you guys need to network so that you can be visible. That's the key to building your relationships. Brian, we have some phenomenal questions here today. You've just been a wealth of information. I think we're going to wrap up, move into some breakout rooms. But I had two last questions before we wrap up. One, if people want to connect with you, what's the best way to reach out to you? Is it your TikTok, your MySpace page, something of that nature?
You message me on Facebook. Will be your that'll work, and then you can schedule a call with me. You can also text me on the number on the screen there on my name, and that'll I'll notice you. I am on the phone all the time, so if you try to randomly call me, that is my cell phone number, but you probably not get through. Send me a text first, and we'll figure out a time.
Last question, and I talk about this all the time, and you've touched on it frequently in the past. Uh, so many investors coming to a multitude of education communities on the landscape. Pace Morby's community. There's so many of the fortune builders which existed for many years till they closed their doors last year. Um, Cody Sperber, Cole Hatter, Grant Cardone, Ryan Pineda. There's a gazillion programs out there. People are coming every single day. Some are very new to real estate investment. Some are very experienced, but pretty much for the most part, they're all learning, have the opportunity to use social media for the first time to impact their business. So my question to you, Brian, is how important is it for the real estate investor today, whether new or experienced, to use and leverage social media to build their business? How important is that?
If you're not doing it, you're not going to do any business. It is the networking. It's not. It's they use the term social networking, but that's how we meet everybody. That's where pretty much every deal will wash through social media in some size, shape, or form at this point. A couple of years ago, that might not have been quite as true, but today you basically have to. I would say, as a bit of a nerd, it's somewhat annoying that Facebook is still holding on. It is the social media of your grandparents. So it works well for real estate because we're the slowest industry. We're the one that is the slowest to adopt anything and the slowest to change. So Facebook has been around for going on 20 years now, and so a lot of people are on it, and it's a very good way to connect with real estate and industry type folks. LinkedIn is become decidedly less important in the last few years, but it was doing well for a while. Instagram can work really well if you're a house flipper specifically. Not as hot if you're a rental person, but if you're a house flipper and you can do your sexy before and after pictures, they love those. Those can do very well on Instagram, and you can build a decent following there. X is the one I'm working on now a lot. I think it has the most potential in the future, but probably isn't quite there yet, as there's not enough people adopting it. So that's kind of your social media rundown.
Okay, and you kind of touched on something I say all the time, is the importance of building our network before we need it. So many people I've talked to have no desire to do that because they're, you know, paid for a program and they're in that program. They want to take advantage of that program. They want to get all the knowledge, but it's always important, guys, to start building relationships in your community as you're growing your education so that every step of the way, you have people that you could ask questions of. You can always
So
be fork in the road.
let me give you guys an example of this. I've been I'm primarily a lender now, but we have a couple of hundred rental units under management in Pittsburgh, and I flip 5 to 7 properties at any given moment. So I'm done quite a bit of that and continue to do so. A few months ago, I found out that there was a bit of a snafu on a commercial building I own. And that's that the servicing company for the mortgage had failed to collect or pay property taxes on that building for 3 years. So I found out I had a problem when the local tax collector went to put my $2 million property up for sheriff's sale. And I had about a day, maybe 2 days, to come up with about $98,000 in cash and take it down to them. It had to be a certified fund check at the courthouse in order to prevent that. So I've been doing this long enough. I called up a friend of mine and said, "Hey, can you give me 98 grand today? And I can't secure it for you. I can pay your interest rate. I'm just going to need a quick loan and I'll pay you back later." And my buddy said, "Okay, no problem." And he sent me over the funds and I was able to take care of that. The reason I'm able to do that is because I've been doing this for 15, 16 years. And the people that I call to do that kind of stuff have lent to me on very conventional renovations and buy and hold projects to the tune of millions and millions of dollars. So we have a very good long-term trust relationship. So when I call up with an ask that is absolutely insane, I need a ton of money, you can't have any security, and I need you to basically not ask me why. That is the kind of ask that you can only get away with from a good friend. And so JJ's point about build those friendships, start now.
Yeah.
So someday you can call and get $100,000 dropped in your lap for basically a bullshit ask without a problem. You want that. It's an important thing. Now, as a business plan, it's terrible to need it. You don't want to do business that way at all. I want to have 30 to 60 days before I have to close anything. I want my friends, family, lenders, everybody to get all the due diligence in the world to make sure this is a good idea. Because nothing would thrill me more than we don't close because it was a bad deal. That is so much better than we bought something we shouldn't have, right? So build those relationships today. From day one, you're looking for that. Don't go for the crazy ask. Don't call me on Thursday for a Friday close to try to get me to pay for it when you've never even talked to me before. It's an unreasonable expectation. We don't have the social credit to do it. So there's the application of what JJ tells you guys all day.
Yeah, it's so important. Guys, I talk about it all the time. Networking, you have to network constantly. You constantly have to build relationships at every opportunity. If there's people in the room, you need to get to know the people. Only 1 out of 10 people you meet are truly going to bring you any value, if that. And so that means you have to throw a very, very wide net to find the gold nuggets. And you just constantly have to be building relationships. More importantly, you have to be marketing yourself so everybody knows who you are. So that when you walk into the room, you're halfway there. People are aware of who you are. So if you guys are on the call right now and you're watching on YouTube, please like Brian's video. Please click the little like button and put in the comment section what your takeaways were, what you found was important or valuable, or what you liked about the call. Again, if you want to connect with Brian, Brian's preferred way of connecting with him is going to be via his Facebook page. So go to the Facebook, it's Brian Fine. Right here is what his page looks like. Go ahead and message him. That is the best way to reach him. If you want to connect with me, get on our Zoom calls or get into my networking group, scan the turquoise QR code here. It's going to take you to my website, JJ Azizian. If you want to get on my YouTube channel and see all the recordings of over 300 guest speakers, catch Brian's presentation as well as numerous excellent uh, interviews with great content. Scan the purple QR code here and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Flipside Up with JJ. Brian, in the meantime, everybody that's watching on YouTube and out in the world of virtual networking, we'll see them on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, etc. Right?
Yep, and hopefully we'll see you all at our picnic in June. We'll see everybody there.
Friday, June 20th, Saturday, June 21st. Be there, don't be square. It's going to be a great time. Everybody else, hang out. Don't go away. We're going to do some live networking, some live breakout rooms. And Brian, we'll see everybody else out in the world of virtual networking, right?
Absolutely. Talk to you all soon.
See you later, guys. Thank you.